Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Director's Vision. I'm your host, Ray C., and with me, I've got my great friend, Big CHED here. And today, we're going to be discussing our top 10 greatest movies. Now, I want to make a distinction. This is not our top 10 favorite movies. This is our top 10 best movies of all time, okay? Because I think those are two completely different things.
I agree.
Yeah, because... some movies might be more enjoyable than others. I'm going to be more focusing on the artistic lens, whereas CHED is more for the...
average viewer.
Yes, the average viewer. So without further ado, let's get started.
Okay, you go first.
Okay, well, so for number 10, it's the only one I actually don't have on Blu-ray, and that is Gone with the Wind.
Oh, Gone with the Wind. Okay, classic. Okay,
yeah, it is a classic.
Okay.
Yeah, it was directed by Victor Fleming, who also did Wizard of Oz. Fun fact.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
I'm going to be honest. The first hour, I did not care for it at all. But I got to say, after you got used to people talking like, "Well, hello, Scarlett. How are you today?" When you got used to that, it finally. It was actually a really, really good movie. And it was actually surprisingly dark for, I think it was 1939 that was released.
So 39, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It is. It's very old.
It's that old.
It is very old.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, no, the cinematography is absolutely fantastic. I mean, you got to give it the frame of, like, you got to give it a little bit of leeway because of
its age,
how old. But actually,
absolutely.
I watched the restored version and it looks remarkably good.
Really?
I must say. And it's in color too, right? Obviously.
Oh yeah, I know it's in color. I've never seen the full movie.
Yeah,
that's my grandma's favorite too. So
yeah,
I've never seen it.
One of the things that really stands out to me is the set design. It was very well, the sets were just fantastic on that. And here's another thing that I want to point out is that we're not gonna. I could talk for hours and hours and hours about each one of these movies.
Me too. Understood.
But I feel we should definitely try and keep it down a little bit.
Well, last point for Gone with the Wind. Like the only thing I think a lot of people know about is that ending scene where he's frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. And for back then, that's you can't do that.
Good.
That's a no right.
That's good.
So,
yeah. Okay.
But
moving on to CHED's number 10.
Okay, number 10. My number 10. I don't want to show you. My number 10 is Shawshank Redemption.
Okay.
My number 10. For me, this isn't any particular order until number 1. Number 1 is definitely in order. But all these movies, I think, are fantastic movies. Shawshank Redemption. Oh, boy. Wow. I saw that, I think, for the first time when I was 13 or 14. And you got Morgan Freeman. You've got, I can't remember who plays Andy Dufresne. I can't remember the guy's name. I can't remember his name. You got the list there. Oh, you have it right there. Okay, perfect.
Tim Robbins.
That's it. Yeah. So great cast, a great setting, just a fantastically shot movie, and a really captivating story. It's actually a really interesting story, and I love it. And it shows sort of the not the horrors, but the issue with being kept in a prison for so long and then being released and trying to fit in the outside world, especially for what's the old guy's name? Can't remember his name in the movie. He's been there since like 18 something, and he gets released in like 1950, and he's like, there's cars, what's going on? So it's a really cool movie. I really like it, and when it comes on TV, I always watch it.
Well, yeah, that's my number 8.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
It is my number 8.
Okay.
That's why I have it.
That's why you have it. I didn't know. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, but no, I totally agree with you. I think with Stephen King movies, it's either a hit or a miss. Really, but you had Frank Darabont who directed it, which was that's a good choice. I think Frank Darabont has a really good way of establishing. He has a very unique tone to his movies. I find, like, have you seen The Green Mile?
Yes. Oh, I love Green Mile. That's another great one. Yeah,
but they almost feel like sequels. Almost, they're very similar in tone, in my opinion.
Yes, very similar. Yeah,
and yes, and that's one of the things I really enjoy about Shawshank. And you covered a lot of it. I mean, obviously, terrific story, terrific acting.
Yes,
all great things. So, I'm good to move on. You good to move on?
Yeah, I'm good too.
All right.
Well, number 9.
So, next up, I got Schindler's List. All right. And here's the thing about Spielberg that I don't see. I have a love-hate relationship for Spielberg because this guy, he directs masterpieces like, Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan, Then he goes and he releases Indiana Jones 4.
Well, what, you don't like that movie, Ray? Come on. That's good.
Come on, CHED.
No, it's bad. It's really bad.
It's terrible.
It's
the worst thing.
Yeah.
It's bad. But honestly, Schindler's List is a total masterpiece in my opinion. I absolutely love it. It's
It's a good movie.
Liam Neeson's best movie, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that.
It definitely
yeah.
shows off his acting chops very well. And I mean, who I forget who plays the Nazi, Ralph something. Oh,
I can't remember. I don't know.
Ralph Fiennes.
I saw it for the first time only about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
For the first time.
Well,
it's fantastic.
Well, my favorite part about that is, it's filmed in black and white.
Right.
And the girl in the red dress.
Yes.
That is
The symbolism there is great.
that is such an excellent use of that, the coloring. I absolutely love it. And I mean, I have a soft spot for black and white cinematography, like good black and white cinematography. And I think the way it was very good, high contrast, not high contrast. It wasn't like Sin City, but it had a very nice. It just looked aesthetically pleasing.
It did.
And of course, the story was,
Yeah, the story.
it was heart wrenching, and
it's a good story though. I mean, and I mean, was that movie 93? Something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different side.
Yep,
93. I was right.
93.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, it's a portrayal of a time in history that Germany won't forget, and the rest of the world won't forget.
Yeah.
And it's I think it's a fantastic movie, and it shows just the horrors and all the naughty things that people can get up to. It's it's a great movie.
So, all right. I know we're not midway through the podcast, but I also want to point out that we set up a couple of rules for this list.
Right.
I break one of the rules.
Naturally, yes.
Naturally, always.
Lawbreaker,
but it's a good law break. But
I didn't. I behaved myself.
You did behave yourself. These are only one movie per director. So this is Spielberg's. This is Spielberg.
Right.
I choose Schindler's List. Also, we're only doing English films for right now, or American or British films.
Yes.
And so I thought that was very important to clarify.
Yes.
So I know we're already midway, but that's okay. So anyway, what do you have for number 9?
Number 9, I wholeheartedly believe the best animated film of all time, and that's Toy Story.
Okay, I'm not going to argue with you there. That's a good movie.
I think it is the best. Not to say that there's lots of great animated films out there, and anything pumped out by Disney is fantastic. But I think Toy Story is. I just think it's phenomenal. We kind of grew up in that era, so we would have been the ripe age for those movies. I miss Toy Story. We both missed Toy Story by a few years, but when I used to watch that movie every day as a kid, and I think it encaptures everything in a great animated film. You've got at the time it was beautiful computer generated animation. You've got this a really different story. These crazy characters who are all really well by some great actors. You got Tom Hanks, Tim Allen. You got who plays the pig? The guy from Cheers. The guy from Cheers. Don Rickles is Mr. Potato. My favorite. Don Rickles. You can't go wrong there. And just a great cast of characters in this cute little adventure, and I think I really think it captures everything what an animated film should be. I really do, and anytime Toy Story's on, I put my bum in the seat and I watch it because it's phenomenal.
Yep, absolutely. You know what? I respect that decision.
Yeah.
I think we should do a separate one for animated movies, but
we can do that. I'll go because there's other animated movies I love too.
Oh, there's some terrific animation,
but that one. For me, I think is the best animated film of all time. I think, for sure.
No, I totally respect that, and that's a good decision. I won't argue with that one. Okay, so my number 8 spot was Shawshank, which we already discussed. So we don't need to
great movie
go further with that. So let's
number 7.
No, you're number 8.
Oh, number 8. Okay. I don't like horror movies. I hate horror movies. I think they're especially modern horror movies. I hate ghosts. I hate cheap jump scares. I hate everything like that, and it's spooky, and I get nightmares, and it's bad.
Yep, I'm with you there, 100%.
However, I think the best horror movie of all time, or creepy movie, or whatever you want to call it, The Shining. I think it's a fantastic movie. There's a famous jump scare in that movie,
but it was a good jump scare.
But it's a great jump scare. It's not cheap. It's very well earned.
Well, that's Stanley Kubrick. You know what? I love The Shining. Great movie.
Yeah, it's fantastic movie.
I wouldn't say it's Stanley Kubrick's best movie, but I would say it's the best horror movie in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I mean it's just there's so much going on. It's a great story. Jack Nicholson, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
It's I mean, how many times in other media, how many times have you seen that parodied or made fun of, or actually in Toy Story when they're in the bully's house, the carpet is the same carpet that's in the hotel.
No, really?
Yeah, it is. It's the same there, and they did that because all the toys are like all these like little.
Yeah, they're all weird.
These freak toys, yeah, and it's the carpet's the same as it is in the hotel.
I did not know that.
Yeah, there's a fun fact. But no, I really love The Shining. It's fantastic, and here's Johnny. How can you go wrong, right?
I mean, the set design is like, that was all a set, eh?
Yeah,
that was an actual hotel, like, and that's pretty impressive.
Very.
I mean, a lot of people don't particularly care for The Shining because of it doesn't really follow the book that well. No. Okay, I shouldn't say people don't care for it because there's a lot of people that love it.
They do, yes, of course.
Because the thing is, like, for cinema geeks like me, Stanley Kubrick is the, he's the almighty.
Yes, he's great. He's one of the greats. Yeah,
I'd say he's probably the greatest director of all time.
I can agree with that,
in my opinion. But
like that.
He has his own very unique like visions of his own thing, and
right.
He read the book, I imagine, and then he went and he developed the way he saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Stephen King described it as a nice car without an engine, but I disagree. I think it's.
I think The Shining is fantastic.
I think it's such a great
best
movie.
of all time.
And
especially for horror movies because I hate them.
Yeah,
I hate them.
Well, they've gotten so cheap and so trash over the years, and I don't know. Like, I mean, a lot of people like them, but I just think cinematically, if you actually look at them, they're very formulaic. They're all so similar, and they're not unique at all. No. It's just, I don't know. They're just not scary to me.
I agree.
And well, actually, some of them, like, they're just cheap and they're just loud, and I don't like that. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. Do you want to move on to number 7?
Yes, I'm absolutely. Okay. Yeah, I know you love this movie. Yeah. So we got Apocalypse Now at number 7.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Apocalypse Now. Yeah. Wow. What a adventure.
The horror. I love that movie, dude.
Yeah. You know what? Brando's acting is just, it's so good. He's my favorite actor from the 20th century. 20th century. Yeah.
It's fantastic. I think it's my only issue with the movie is the opening.
What do you mean?
When he's in the hotel and they're showing all these little special effects of him, like the I guess you call them Vietnam flashbacks. They kind of look a little dated, and they're a little. I think it's a little bit out of place for the movie, but I think it still makes sense.
I think the hotel scene is a very important scene.
It is.
It sets this.
What he's saying is important.
It sets the mind state of Captain Willard. I think that's
Captain Willard. That's it. Captain Willard. There you go. Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I'll have to kind of disagree with you. I do agree that maybe it's a little bit dated. I see him with the opacity over the
yes, exactly.
napalm.
Yes.
But it is what it is. Like I said, it's a 70s movie, right?
Yeah, it's old.
70s,
but
right?
it's I love that.
Oh
movie.
no, it's
I love
the
it.
story is marvelous.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. It's so, and Francis Ford Coppola, you can't go wrong.
Nope, you can't go wrong there either.
And that's the man I broke the rule for. And if you're really into film, you'll know exactly what.
Yeah, you'll know where we're going. Or anyone who's Italian is going to know where we're going.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't blame you though. I mean,
it's for a good reason. He's one of the greatest directors.
I think it's the best Vietnam movie.
I would say it's the greatest war movie, period.
You think so? The greatest war movie of all time? I think because I think it's a war movie, but it's also kind of a psychological thriller at the same time.
That's what I like. That's what I like about it. Mm-hmm. I mean, actually, it's either that or Saving Private Ryan and that's actually what I was kind of debating on, whether or not I would do that. Of course, I already had Spielberg in there with Schindler's List.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I think that war movies can be just as cheap as horror movies. In my opinion.
Absolutely.
They can be. Absolutely. Although they aren't get as much flack because they're more emotionally driven. And I still
patriotism in them too, right?
So I don't know. For me, I feel like Apocalypse Now is such a unique story that's what gives it the best war movie, in my opinion.
I can understand that. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why I chose that.
That's a great choice. I stand by that absolutely. Yeah, 100%. My number 7 is Scarface, the 1983 one, I believe.
Yeah. Brian De Palma.
Yeah. Scarface. Wow, what a movie! What a fantastic movie. Saw Scarface when I was probably about 8 years old. Sorry, Mom, should have done that.
Yeah.
But Scarface is this fantastic movie about a Cuban refugee who lands in Miami after Castro extradited a whole bunch of people, and basically becomes the cocaine king of Miami.
Yeah, well, it's definitely the rise and fall of
a tragic hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or he's kind of an anti-hero. If my
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
And no, I like that movie. I mean, it's a really good action movie. It's an 80s action movie.
It is.
But it's
80s. It's very 80s.
But I'd say it's a high class 80s action
Yeah,
movie.
I love it. I think it's
Because I mean, Brian De Palma is a pretty good director. Like he did The
is.
Untouchables. What else did he do?
I can't think.
I don't think he did Heat. Yeah,
Did he? No, I
don't think
so.
he did Heat. No.
No.
Yeah. But no, that's a pretty that's a good movie.
I mean, it's quotable. I mean, that say hello to my little friend. You know, I mean, it's very quotable.
I mean, say what you will about his accent, but you know,
Is that it's you know
it's
it's a little different, but
it is a little different.
I never
yeah.
met a Cuban that quite sounded like that, I guess.
Yeah.
But you know, I think it's everything 80s. It's you know, it's over synthesized music, pounds and pounds of just cocaine and flashy cars.
Fun fact: De Palma never stated what he used for cocaine in that.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Ray? It was the 1980s. It wouldn't surprise me if it was actually coke, dude. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I just think it's a fantastic movie, and I think, I mean, people would probably argue that the original one from 1930 something's better.
Yeah,
the Scarface, but I think it's.
I've only seen. I have it. I have that one.
Oh, do you?
Oh,
I
do
didn't
have
know that
one. But I haven't. I've only seen half of it.
Two different monsters, totally two different.
Oh wait, no,
beasts
they're completely different films.
Whereas Scarface 1980, it's that. Well, and that came out in 83 at the height of Ronald Reagan's drug war, and you know we're gonna get rid of those drugs, and Mr. Garbage, you have tear down the wall. You know we're gonna get rid of all. You know, so at the time it made a lot of sense too. It made a lot of sense to talk about all the drugs in Miami because Miami was 50% sand and old people and cocaine. And that's pretty 50% old, 50% cocaine. That's pretty much what it was. So I just think it's a fantastic movie. I love it. And that's another one. If it's on TV, I'm sitting down and I'm watching it because I love it.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally agree. All right. I think it's time to move on.
Okay.
All right. So at number 6,
okay.
I've got the Martin Scorsese classic, Taxi Driver.
Okay.
I absolutely... Speaking of Ronald Reagan,
Yep.
This movie drove a man to shoot the president.
That's true. Yeah, that is true.
Jodie Foster. Mm-hmm. But you know what? I absolutely Bob De Niro was probably if it weren't Brando as my favorite 20th century, it would definitely be Bob De Niro. Because I mean, and I gotta say, I had a real struggle with deciding between Taxi Driver or I got over here. Raging Bull, another Martin Scorsese.
Oh yeah, that's
film.
a great one. Yeah,
I both movies are fantastic, but I think that Taxi Driver just is so unique in its story and the subtext and the way it's portrayed. And not only that, but the character of Travis Bickle is just
yeah, I totally agree.
Like Bob De Niro does such a good job with that. I mean, especially since you can, if you watch it now, you can see how good of an actor he actually is because he gets kind of typecast now as that that mob guy that's.
The face of sour face.
Yeah, that's because of Goodfellas and Casino, right? But I hope. I'm looking forward to that in The Irishman, though. I must say, the new Scorsese movie that's coming out.
Look, it sounds. I mean, there's no trailer for that yet, is there? No,
I don't think. Only a teaser.
So.
Only a teaser.
Yeah. From what I've read about it, it seems like it's. I mean, Scorsese can't go wrong there.
Yeah.
But,
you know what? Yeah. I mean, out of all like Scorsese's films, I think that's the one that's really. It's very unique in its approach, and the thing about Scorsese is that he uses voiceover exceptionally well.
Oh, I love it.
I think that
I love it.
A lot of people use voiceover, but they use it wrong. Whereas Scorsese, he uses it to not tell the story, but to reflect more of the character and develop the character through the voiceover. Because I don't think voiceover should exactly tell the story. I think they should reflect more of.
They should reveal something. I think.
They should reveal something in the character without actually saying it.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Which sounds kind of weird.
No.
I know what you're saying.
Well, but one of the things, the perfect example is Wolf of Wall Street. Is the biggest thing about the voiceover in there is it shows Jordan Belfort's arrogance. And it shows kind of like where his head's at and whatnot, and
his missteps and how
he perceives things. Yes. Right. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Anyway, that's my thing on Scorsese. I agree with that.
Yeah. Taxi Driver. It's one of those. It's another one of those movies where when you're in film school or you're auditioning or you go somewhere, and anytime you're around self tapes or other actors. It's another one of those movies that you see it's not because it's a great movie, but you see that monologue done over Ain't over.
Yeah, you're talking about the one where it's like,
yeah, with the slide out gun.
Even though that was improvised.
Yeah, people
still
all the
do
time.
that,
Same with Dark Knight and the Joker.
No, I know.
All the time. Yeah. So
that's really cringy and annoying.
But
okay, well, I'm ready to move on.
Yes. Okay. So my number 6 is Saving Private Ryan.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
we're talking about Saving Ryan.
Yes.
Okay, you know what?
Yeah.
All right.
We have some similarities on our list here.
Okay, you know what? So far, I'm not yelling at you yet.
No, so far you don't want to kill me yet because I know.
Yeah, because I know it's coming. Though.
you know the movies I like.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. I love Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
I think it's a fantastic movie, and if you haven't seen it, anyone young or old should go see it. It's a fantastic movie. It's a story, somewhat based around a true story, or around a law that if you have brothers or something, you can come and take them. If there's a brother still alive, you can come take them back. But it's a great movie with great actors about a time in history that hopefully never happens again. But it's one of the greatest conflicts that humans will ever have to go through again. Yeah. And it's just a fantastically shot movie. Lots of action, and just trying to capture all those guys on the beach must have taken days and days.
Oh yeah, no, that was
and days of work, and and to have the uniforms, the guns, the beach, everything coming together. That's huge.
I love the way it's filmed, the whole stylistic device, how the grainy film. Did you know that when I think it was Shaw, when they were installing HD, like that was a new thing, right? They were broadcasting Saving Private Ryan, and people were complaining.
Really?
People were literally complaining because they thought it was the TV, but it was actually the way it was shot and the way it was released. And but I like the way it is, and I also one thing I noticed about, I think Spielberg uses this a lot, is just the way he uses light. Light kind of gives it that nostalgic feeling with the way they kind of go in through the windows, and it really establishes the time period very, very well. That was one thing I noticed in Catch Me If You Can. That's another Spielberg film.
That movie.
Love that movie as well.
Great movie.
That is a great movie.
Solid.
But and that's one of the things I like about Spielberg. He for
the most part, he's great. I love hate relationship. I just I love Saving Private Ryan, and I think if you haven't seen it, definitely go see it. But my problem with it is that I've seen it way too many times. I've seen it 1,000 times. I've seen it every time I sat down to watch it on TV. It was on Netflix. I'm pretty sure it was on Netflix for a bit too, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Yeah,
I think it was because I showed Carolyn. And I probably watched about 6 times in high school in history classes. So you know what? It's a great movie, but I just need some more time away from it. It's fantastic.
I'm right with you there. I've seen it too many times.
It's great though.
Yeah, it is a fantastic movie though. That doesn't take it away.
No, it doesn't take away from it at all. It's just I've seen it a million times.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Would you like to move on, sir?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And this is the rule that this is the one that I broke the rule for. The Godfather. Another. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. The Godfather, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Again.
Yes.
This movie, see, a lot of people say that it's boring, and you know what? I will agree. It is slow. It is a
little slow.
It is a slow movie. Yep. Okay, but and there's a difference between being a slow movie and being it still can be entertaining for some people if you really look into the stylistic devices. Like as a film student and as a film connoisseur, I watched this movie and I'm trying to analyze every single decision that was being made by the director, kind of see what his goal was, what his vision, why he did certain things. And this movie is just full of it. And also I want to point out that this includes The Godfather Part 2.
But not Part 3.
Not Part 3. I mean, we're gonna forget that ever happened, okay?
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
Because those two movies are fantastic. And
I agree with that. Fantastic.
And again, that another thing about setting the tone, it's just it's filmed in this orange hue almost. It's
a little bit, yeah.
And I don't know, somehow it works. It has a very different aesthetic to it, just the way it's shot. It doesn't look like real life, but I love it. I love it's very it has a lot of contrasty. I remember that, I think it's Part 2. The opening shot is Michael sitting in a chair, if I'm not mistaken. And it just, that shot is so awesome,
powerful.
It's very, you see the power within him, like how he's changed. That's the one thing I love about The Godfather, is Michael's character arc is so good until they ruin it in 3.
Yeah, but I agree with you absolutely,
and 100%. Because he was all about not being involved, and then he becomes the one thing that his father didn't want him to become.
Yep.
He joined the business, but he just went against everything his father stood for, which is it's very strange. And you know, I just that's the, like I said, this is one movie that I'd love to go further into discussion with, because this is one that
absolutely
I could talk for 3, 4, or 5 hours.
Oh, easy.
This. Yeah.
I think for me, imitation is the best form of flattery.
Oh yeah.
And there probably is no other movie that gets imitated as much as the wedding scene. It's how many times are people going to put cotton balls in their mouth and do that? Because it's but I love it. It's a fantastic movie. I mean, that's something. It's an old movie too, but that's like you ask your parents, they'll probably tell you the same thing. It's a fantastic movie. You ask anyone. And it's
except for the people that say it's boring, it's slow.
It is a little boring, but
it is. But
I think the story carries it through. I think the story.
No, that's what I mean. But I mean, you got to think about it through the like a cinematic, artistic lens.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. You know, like I said, I'll agree that for someone who just wants to see explosions, yeah, it's gonna be boring. Because it's not right full of gunfights and whatnot. It's not Scarface.
No, it's not Scarface.
And I know a lot of people go and try and watch The Godfather and like, what the hell is this? This is boring.
Yeah, people just need to sit down and watch it. The acting, everything else.
Yeah, like I said, if you can't appreciate those little things, like the little details, then you're not going to enjoy this movie.
No,
it's the same for a lot of these movies.
I can see why the average audience wouldn't, but I mean, it's a classic for a reason.
It is.
For a reason, right?
All right, let's move on.
Okay, that was number 5, right?
Yes.
Okay, so. Number 5. Okay, number 5. We're taking it back to the 1980s because that was a good decade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that decade. Yeah.
Die Hard.
Here it is.
No. Hear me out. Hold on. Die Hard. Best action movie ever. Best action movie. Everyone right now is freaking out about John Wick, and Keanu Reeves is great. Okay, but John Wick couldn't run if John McClane in Die Hard didn't run across the floor and barefoot on the glass. Okay, it wouldn't happen without him. Okay. That movie is so good. It's okay. If you haven't seen it, you need to watch it.
Okay,
you need to watch it.
All right. You know what? I'm not going to say it's necessarily a bad movie, okay? Because it has its place. It's an action movie.
Yes,
it is. It's good in its own
best
right.
Action.
It's good in its own right, its own category.
Yes.
However, I would not agree that it is worthy of being in the top 10 greatest movies of all time.
Oh, hell yes.
I don't think that it's. I mean, I think it has cultural significance, but I don't think on the cinematic stage, I don't think it really proved a lot of like. It didn't do anything amazing in regards to acting, in regards to cinematography, in regards to storytelling. You know what I mean? I agree that it was very popular and it's an enjoyable movie. It's certainly an enjoyable movie. And it's very imitated.
Oh, extremely.
but I don't think that it really did anything groundbreaking, and that's why I have to disagree.
I gotta disagree with you there, Raimundo. I think it's extremely groundbreaking. I think it. I think it. Well, first of all, when you spawn 5 sequels over a period of 30 years, okay, that's pretty. It's pretty good. There's not a lot of people that can do that. Okay. Second of all, again, a lot of action movies to come afterwards. I don't. A lot of them are inspired and have a lot of roots. Even some of the other movies Bruce Willis did after that are inspired. By Die Hard, I think.
Like I said, that's all cultural significance, and I'm not arguing with you.
No, I know.
But I'm talking in regards to cinematography, in regards to the art of film.
Okay, so I think the movie's unique. The concept of the movie is unique, and in that regards, and I think because the as you know, the movie takes place in the one Nagatomi building or whatever. Usually action movies, or war movies. Thank you. Usually action movies, it's Rambo running through the jungle. It's cowboys, John Wayne. You got to think this is the first movie to do this. That's what I'm trying to say. It's the first movie to do that. Whereas everything else before that was, hey there, Pilgrim, or it was Rambo silently moving through the jungle, slitting people's throats and stuff. That's why I think it's groundbreaking, because it's the first action movie to be a real action movie that wasn't a war movie or it wasn't an Old West movie.
Okay. I think maybe I can give you that. I can give you that, but I still stand by my points.
That's fair. That's fair. That's
okay.
fair. I just
Okay.
it's it deserves a pedestal, Ray. I'm sorry, man. It deserves a pedestal.
Okay.
And
All right. Well. All right. Whatever.
Agree to disagree.
We will agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree.
But let's move on.
Move on. Okay.
This movie is
yes.
amazing.
Right.
Love this.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Okay. This movie has. I would say this is the greatest script ever written, and it was written by Robert Towne. It is Chinatown. Okay. It was directed by Roman Polanski. You got Jack Nicholson starring as a detective.
Classic.
There is not one single piece of dialogue in this movie that could be omitted. That every single piece of dialogue has a point, and that's what I love about it. And the story
rare.
is so well executed, and I would say it's a film noir, but it goes against every film noir. I don't want to spoil too much. It goes against.
I haven't seen it. So.
It goes against every single thing that film noirs cliches.
Right.
Like it plays it against almost. Like it makes you think like it's going to go in that direction. Like, oh, this is just a cheeky film noir, and then you think you know where it's going to go based on those preconceived notions.
Right.
But then it just turns it and flips it onto itself, and it does it so well. It doesn't do it any because I've seen that done very poorly, but this one does it marvelously. I think that's one of the best parts about this movie is the writing and the way it uses film noir cliches against itself. Like or against the cliche.
I have to see it. I still haven't seen that yet. I
would
like film noir. So.
Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. It's so good. And obviously you got Jack Nicholson. So.
What year is it?
I'm pretty sure it's a 70s movie. Hold on.
70s?
1974.
1974. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I've never seen it, but that's one I still on your list, and I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, no,
so
it's good. I'll let you borrow that one. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah,
I'll take a look at it. And I'll tell you what I think.
Yeah, if it's
that good.
It's a very good movie,
and especially if not one line of dialogue is wasted, because that's honest to God with 99.9% of the movies I watch. My issue is dialogue, is scripting,
really,
and just with any movie I go to see now, it's like, do people really say that? I don't know. Let's
was that really necessary?
Was that really necessary? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, why are we talking about this right now? Shouldn't we? There's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But I'll give it a watch and I'll tell you what I think.
All right.
Okay.
Well, let's move on.
Number 4, right? Is number 4?
Yes.
Okay. So my number 4 is, this is a real oldie, but this is the oldest one on my list. Freaks.
Todd Browning.
Freaks. I think it's 1932.
Yeah.
I didn't know this movie existed, but I had seen, this is another one that's been imitated thousands of times. I had seen multiple scenes being reenacted or parodied in other media, especially like Cart Simpsons and all kinds of things. And I saw it in film school, sat down and watched the whole thing, and wow, what a different movie for the time. 1932. I mean, you got you got what, Casablanca around that time too, I'm pretty sure.
So
which is another great movie.
That almost made the list, actually. Casablanca.
Did it?
Fantastic
Fantastic
movie.
It was
close.
But this movie is so different for the time.
Oh, absolutely.
So different.
Matter of fact, they made the studios just shunned Browning for it. Like they were.
Really?
They were. Yeah, they were not happy with him.
I mean, I can see why, because they talk about a lot of things in this movie, or they try to I mean, it should be said that most of the actors in this movie. So the movie's about it's about circus freaks or circus performers that are all, like, if you go to sideshow actors and stuff. So they all have some sort of birth defect, or they all have some sort of crazy sort of like. What would you call it? Like, I guess talents, I guess you'd say. So, you've got people with, there's a tiny dwarf guy, and I can't remember what his name is, but he's probably only about that tall. Like he's super tiny.
Oh, and then there's a guy with no arms or legs.
No arms.
That lights a cigarette.
That lights a cigarette with no arms and no legs. Yeah. And then there's I forget. There's the people. See, they call them pinheads, but that's not that's not very nice. I can't remember what's the. It looks like the Zika virus or something. I don't know what it is. I honestly have no idea. But there's all these freaks in quotation, and they're living together in the circus, and the whole story's based around them, which again at the time is so different and rare, like that back then.
Because you go from all these glossy Hollywood stars to a film that's kind of disturbing, and very gritty.
Yeah, very
and
almost horror, almost horror.
Well, yeah, don't they uprise against the normal people at the end?
Pretty.
I haven't seen it personally, but I know about it.
But the scene, one of us, So that scene, I mean, it's full of there's the one of the scenes. The guy's crawling through the mud trying to get away, and they're all crawling through the mud. Another scene in Toy Story, actually. There you go. Toy Story does that one too.
Yeah, there you go.
When all the toys come to life, and they're all crawling through the mud. It's supposed to be like that scene from Freaks, but it's an extremely interesting movie, and I think it's really cool that they got all those people to come in and be in the movie, and it's definitely it stands out in the time, and I think it's definitely worth a watch. It's such a crazy movie, and you can see where a lot of other people get like American Horror Story and like a lot of people get these weird stories from, and I think it comes from Freak Show. Okay, so it's a fantastic movie, and that's one I really like too. I love that movie.
I'll stand by that. Yeah. Okay, I definitely agree with the significance of that film.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to my number 3.
Okay, number 3.
This one,
yes,
another very slow movie, but very, very significsignificant in regards
extremely important. I can see it. Extremely important.
It's very important in regards to cinema. 2001: A Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick. I was debating between Clockwork Orange and 2001: A Space Odyssey, but I have to say 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I picked that one too.
It's very the story, obviously fantastic. I mean, I like how it doesn't focus on specific characters. It focuses on the grand scheme of things. That's the big picture. That's the whole point of the movie.
Yes,
is that it's telling this grand, it's almost telling three eras of human history, and
almost
and it's I know I love it. I love it to death, and it's very poetic. I forget the direct quote, but yeah, that's how Kubrick would describe it, as a poetic. As a poem.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
and like I said, it is very slow, but the whole, I love how there's so many different stylistic devices within it that are very unique for the time. The way they filmed the moon, like the obsession with the way the light was supposed to go was crazy. Kubrick went absolutely nuts with that.
Well, I think what's important is the way things are filmed and how beautiful things look for the time, 1960.
Well, that's another thing I wanted to say. This was released almost 10 years before Star Wars, and I would argue that it looks better than Star Wars. You might not agree with me there.
Certain things, like that, the actual shots, like the actual thing, like the shots of the moon and the space, because it's supposed to be realistic, right? It's supposed to feel, and you got to think before Space Odyssey, for the sci-fi, there really isn't anything.
And you also have to think that this had a huge budget and Star Wars
didn't.
So, but I still have to maintain that this had amazing special effects.
Oh, it did. Fantastic. Oh my god. I mean, the only thing sci-fi I can think is Star Trek. I think is the only thing.
Yeah.
Which they didn't even have they had people to pull the doors open. I'm pretty sure they didn't have sliding doors back then. So
I know.
I can't. Oh, Roy Rogers maybe, but that doesn't.
Well, I don't know, but. I don't know. This movie is just right full of different, very unique. This is 1968. I know that.
1968, yeah. It's a fantastic movie. It's again, that's another one that stands out during the time period. Crazy movie for the time period.
And you know,
very beautiful.
And I mean, I love how most of the time it's eerily silent. You ever notice that? And you only hear the breathing.
Almost, yeah.
Well, no, like all the space. Remember when he goes to rescue his friend out in space? Literally, no score. It's literally dead silent, and all you can hear is just him breathing. And it's just for me that I don't know that sends shivers down my spine. But not only that, but I do love the score of the movie, like all the that creepy that choir thing.
Yeah,
the
score's fantastic.
Like it's really creepy.
Make a movie come to life, man. You'd be surprised how. Well, I know but a lot of people would be surprised how much music can come together and complete the movie.
Well, George Lucas said music is half the picture.
Yeah, absolutely.
The
opening with da 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 da. I mean, how
it's huge. No,
but no, even in the creepy stuff too. It makes the movie absolutely makes the movie.
Yeah, no. I think the symbolism is probably the most important part about that movie. The symbolism is the key to enjoying that movie.
You know what? Okay, yeah,
because there's so much different types of symbolism and different types of
I saw when I was really young, so for me it's more about the beautiful shots and everything that's going on there. But I would agree with that. There's definitely a lot going on.
I would highly recommend rewatching that. Highly.
I haven't watched it. I was probably 11 when I watched it first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've got the 4K version here. It's beautiful.
It's pretty impressive actually. I've never. You know what? I've only seen like 3 movies in 4K. So.
Oh yeah.
Maybe another one I have to borrow.
Yeah, man.
Oh, excuse me.
Go for it. Well, I mean, you have to watch it on the 4K TV.
I have to watch it on the 4K TV. Yeah, that's it.
I have to watch it. Yeah,
that's exactly it.
Yeah. So anyway, we can move on. Like I said, this is another one.
Fantastic. I definitely recommend that one.
We'll probably have another conversation about that movie later.
Okay, well, since we're talking about sci-fi, greatest sci-fi movie of all time, Ray. Sorry, Star Wars, the original Star Wars from 1977. Okay, so you brought up a point earlier when you said Star Wars didn't have the budget. George Lucas or Mark, one of them is, I don't know if it's Mark or George, is quoted saying I think it's George. It's the highest grossing B movie ever made, and it's because when George was doing the movie, the budget was minuscule. It was pathetic compared to a lot of Hollywood movies, and what he made, whether he did it on purpose or on accident, what he made is wow. Wow.
Yeah, no, I mean, it had huge cultural significance, obviously.
I mean, that's the reason why there's 37 movies now.
I mean, I'll tell you that I totally, completely respect the original three. Do I think they're the greatest movies of all time? Not necessarily. I think that they have a huge cultural significance.
Huge, especially at the time.
I love the score, obviously. The score is amazing.
That's what's going to do the score. John, you can't go wrong with that. Yeah. The score is absolutely fantastic. I mean, I even if you just threw out the movie, you could go to if you went to an orchestra that was doing that, you could sit down and enjoy that music is fantastic. It's absolutely beautiful.
That's one of the things that's persisted throughout all the movies.
Yeah.
I like all the scores.
The scores are fantastic. They're great.
I mean, the prequels are,
they're amazing. No, I mean they are what they are. But the song, the musical and they're laying on Naboo and stuff. It's beautiful.
I will tell you though is that I really. I mean, I get it's a part of. I don't particularly like the humor in the stars. I think that one of the worst. I think that the story arc is cool. Like it kind of not set the precedent. Like there was hero's journey before that, but I feel like that it really elevated it to the level it is now.
It's very raw. The hero's journey. It's kid on planet. Obi-Wan picks him up. Go.
But I mean, you should watch the video. I forget which YouTube channel. I might have a link below in the description.
Right.
It was how Star Wars was saved in the edit. Because it was a very different movie before it was.
Oh yes, I know about that. Yes, I do know about that.
And it definitely was because I have to be honest, and I don't think that George Lucas is the best writer. I think that's one of the things that it is.
He had a lot of help in those movies. That's the thing. He had a lot of help.
Because I mean it was pretty blaringly obvious with the prequels.
Because everyone regards Episode 5 to be the best, and that's one I'm pretty sure he had the least to do with that one.
Well, I have to say he's very good at the big picture, like the big part, but when it comes down to the individual dialogue and executing it,
right?
I think that he should
agree with that.
That's my personal opinion.
For me, as someone who, especially as a filmmaker who barely has a budget, when they're trying to create these giant space battles or these giant triangle ships flying through space, or the Death Star, the way they created it and shot it is so unique and so. I think a lot of filmmakers who try to get too ahead of themselves with budget and trying to create these movies, I think they can learn something from Star Wars, and that obviously the cultural impact. But the way that they took a whole bunch of toy model battleships and broke them all down and pasted together this fucking thing.
Well, that's another thing I wanted to point out is that the people who made Star Wars, the people who made the sound effects, amazing.
Yeah,
I wish I remembered his name who did that. The man who did all the set design on a shoestring budget. They did great, because no one knew exactly what Star Wars was going to look like, because no one had established. You had to literally create a universe out of nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, out of literally George Lucas's mind.
Yeah.
You had to go and take what George said and
run with it.
Yeah, and run with it. So I think overall, with executed on a shoestring budget, excellent job. I mean, like I said, I have my gripes about the film, but I think that it wasn't made for someone like me. I don't think it was made for someone who wants to be entertained.
Did your parents see it in theaters when it originally came out? Do you know if they did?
I think they did. Yeah, and and fun fact, I'm pretty sure that's the very first movie I remember my mom showing me when I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
I was probably. I don't even that was I know when that was probably the first movie she ever showed me, to be quite honest.
Really? Okay.
I know
that makes sense.
I was very, very young when I watched it.
Same here.
And
I was young.
So probably 3-4 years old.
I just you talk to anyone, if they saw it in theater, you talk to any person that was back then that saw it. I mean, the cultural impact, but just what it did for sci-fi and what it, just because again, but Space Odyssey, and then what's after Space Odyssey? You get Star Wars, but like I can't really think of the sci-fi, like that's the developing of the sci-fi genre, and that's why I think it's important because it really pushes for the sci-fi genre when you got and then like the 1980s are full of it. You got Alien, Blade Runner, a whole bunch of other stuff, right? So. I think again, I think the culture impact is part of the movie. I think it makes it. I think that makes it. I mean, I can only imagine what people walking out. Dude, did you see Star Wars? Yeah, man. Whoa, dude. I can imagine it was probably. Just I wish I could have seen it on opening night. I wish I could have. 1977.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I wish.
That's
yeah,
that's good. All right, I think that's enough on stars.
I think so.
We'll
yes.
have another chat about that as well.
Well, we probably will in the future.
I feel like all these movies are going to get their own separate chats.
They might. You never know.
Yep, you never know.
Okay, what's next? Number 2.
All right. Oh, excuse me. Number 2 is actually just recently put on Netflix. One of my favorite movies of all time. It probably is number 2 of my favorite movies of all time. Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. Now, if you have not seen this movie, I would. It is a little slow, but it is the most unique movie. Not the most unique. I mean, David Lynch obviously has got that, but he is a very unique film, and I absolutely adore it for obvious reasons. It's Alfred Hitchcock, but we're actually. Big CHED here watched it for the first time.
I did about 2 weeks ago.
About 2 weeks ago,
yeah.
And we're going to do a separate chat about that on another episode because I want, if anyone's going to watch it, I would highly recommend it, watching it, and then you can watch our chat after because we're going to discuss all of this little intricacies.
We have different opinions. I like it, but
yes,
you'll see.
Yes, we will.
You'll see.
We will see. So let's move on to your number 2.
My number 2.
Yes.
My number 2 is Goodfellas. Martin Scorsese.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Goodfellas.
That's a good movie.
Goodfellas. So there's been mob movies before that. Some great, some not so great. But this one is a really interesting take on mob life, especially on the more like thug soldier level, kind of like the street thug kind of level. And I think it's the best mob story ever told, and I think that's. That's a movie. I think I have like 3 copies on DVD, like different. Like every time it got re-released on DVD, I'm pretty sure I have like 3 copies of it.
Yeah,
because I love that movie so much. Ray Liotta playing Henry Hill. Did Ray Liotta do anything before that? I don't know if he did.
Nothing big.
Nothing huge. Kind of made his career, and like every time you see him, you kind of think, oh look, there's the guy from Goodfellas.
Yeah. And then you've got Bob De Niro, Pesci.
Joe Pesci, Joe Pesci should just be every Italian ever. In a movie, just ever. Yeah. Just don't ever. Yeah. And every character is so. It just tells the mob story so much better than. Like usually it's like for example, Scarface, not a mob story, but sort of the crime genre. And where it's the guy rises up, he's doing all good, and then he falls down, and that's the story. Whereas Henry Hill is the kind of the story. Goodfellas is one of the first movies to show the guy kind of getting out, because Henry Hill kind of does have a happy ending. I mean, for him, he might not consider it a happy ending because he's not in the mob anymore. But
he got away with it though.
But he got away with it and wrote a book and became a movie, right? So that to me, I think is crazy, because everyone else they don't get out with their lives. They don't die in their sleep. They get killed. They get whacked. And I think the movie shows the craziness of family life, not like the family. I mean, like the actual family life in the Italian mob. But, the wives and the children are always together. There's never any outsiders. You're with the same people all the time, and just the lunacy of being in this small circle for 40 years on end, and just.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the best things about that movie, one thing that Scorsese does so well, is establishes the era. With especially with the music.
Oh yes,
the music is especially really one thing that stands out to me. You've got obviously great writing.
Oh, fantastic!
Scorsese is one of those directors that has a very unique style in regards to. Obviously he's got the voiceover. We already went over that.
Yes,
with the voiceover is fantastic. He also has a lot of like stylistic devices that are not so blatantly obvious, which is what I kind of like, subtle. Like one of the scenes that I really enjoy is the one where they're burying the body, and then you've got the red tail lights,
Yes,
over, shadowing over them, and they're all looking at each other, and you can kind of see like that's representing.
Except for Henry.
Okay, yeah.
The red light's more on those two.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. No, it's more bright.
Yeah.
So and it's just representing like satanic, feeling and
evil. Yeah.
And so and that's the thing I like about Scorsese. I mean, you also got the great camera shots, like that steady cam shot right into the bar. That's
Fantastic. I just everything about it's fantastic, and I love the story. My favorite scene from the movie is when they kill Billy Bats in the restaurant.
Oh, yes.
They kill Billy Bats in the restaurant. And then they're going out to bury him. And he goes, well, I don't have any shovels. I got to stop. Joe Pesci says, I got to get a shovel at my mom's house. Yeah. Walks in the house at 2 a.m. She's up for some reason. Where are you? What do you do? Well, I need to borrow your shovel, Ma. I gotta. Okay, well, why don't you come down, sit down, and eat? Nah, we can't eat. And then the next cut is them sitting down eating food, and they're sitting down eating. And he's like, you know what? I gotta borrow a knife too, Ma. You gotta borrow a knife? Yeah, I hit a deer and there's hoof stuff in the grill. I gotta cut it off. It's not good.
Hack it off.
I gotta hack it off. And then she's like, oh, my mom's been painting. Here, Mom, show the painting. She brings up the painting, and it's a painting of the guy. And no, it's a nice dog. Look at the dog. He's going. And they're talking, and then he nudges Bob and he goes, hey, does it look like somebody we know? And it's the guy it does not actually him, but it looks like the guy they just killed in the movie. Oh my God. Fantastic, man.
Well,
I love it.
You know what's a very important part about that scene is actually when they're eating. This shows how well developed Bob De Niro's character was, in that he actually was, he obviously studied the character very well, and he actually realized that, if you notice when he's putting ketchup on his meal, he actually does this, and that's actually what the real guy would do. And you see little details like that, and it's amazing. It's so incredible.
Absolutely, it's a fantastic movie, and the rise and fall, and the family life, and just everything going on. It's interesting to see how because the operation he was part of wasn't as big, because Paulie had bosses too, right? But but it's just a crazy movie, and if you like mob story, if you like Sopranos probably wouldn't be around if Goodfellas wasn't around. I don't know. Maybe not. But I mean, that's
Casino probably wouldn't have been
around. No, Casino is Goodfellas 1.5. That's what that is. It's
honestly, that's what it feels.
That's what it is. I like Casino, but Goodfellas is
I mean, I love Casino too. I think but we
different story though.
It is a totally
different story.
I think it's
same
very
actors.
It's very similar in style, but it's a totally different story. And
that's more of the Vegas thing, which we'll talk about on another.
We should definitely talk about that one. Yeah.
Moving on to the number 1 spot.
So the number 1 spot, and also happens to be probably my favorite movie of all time. Orson Welles' Citizen Kane. This movie I could talk about for a week and nonstop. Okay, wow. This movie, I believe it was 1941. It says on here. I think it's 1940 actually, but whatever. Anyway, point is, it's a very old movie, but the groundbreaking significance of this movie is insane. All right, first thing that you notice is that in the credits, Orson Welles, he produced, he acted, he directed, and he had a part in, I don't know if he written the whole thing, but he also shares his director credit with his cinematographer, Greg Toland, who's one of the most, he also did It's a Wonderful Life, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he did, yep.
And one of the things about this movie is the date focused cinematography. Now, if you watch the movie, everything is in focus, okay? All right, that's hard to do nowadays. Could you imagine doing that in the 40s?
Those ancient cameras.
Okay,
yeah.
Remember, this is during World War II. Okay, all right, and that's difficult. There's literally one scene actually where Kane's.
I've never seen it, for the record. I still have to see it.
There's one scene where Kane's actually writing on a typewriter, and then in the background, there's another man talking to him, like his friend. Anyway, but they were actually filmed separately and then overlapped on each other. Oh. So they can be in focus.
Interesting technique.
Very interesting
for back
technique.
then too.
Yes.
Yeah, now.
And the one thing I love about this movie is that it's obviously the story of a man. It's it's almost like, not like Forrest Gump, but I feel like there's some crossover to Forrest Gump. Similarities, yes. Because it's the story of a man, but it starts out with a newsreel of the man, just objectively of what his story was.
Right.
And then it's about a journalist who's going around trying to figure out what his last words were. Rosebud.
Right. Yes.
And he goes around talking to the people that knew him, and then you get to see Citizen Kane, or you get to see Charles Foster Kane through the eyes of the people that knew him. And I think that's just, I just love that. I just love that whole concept. And a lot of people say that people weren't around for, his last words, Rosebud, and that's kind of a thing.
Kind of a spoiler if you don't. I know what happened. I know.
Okay, but if I'm not mistaken, it's been a while since I've seen the movie. He does. I'm pretty sure after he smashes his bedroom, or I think it was his bedroom. He smashes his bedroom. He walks out of the room and then walks into this like mirror shot, this really cool mirror shot, by the way.
Yeah.
And he says Rosebud. So I feel like that's a lot of people say that people weren't around to see his last words. I think that's what Orson Welles was referencing. I could be wrong. I could very well be wrong, but I think that would be my argument against that.
Okay.
But there's so many different things about this movie that make it so well done, especially the character of Charles Foster Kane. Mm-hmm. I mean, also the ties to William Randolph Hearst unofficially.
Right.
But anyway, great movie. Highly recommend. It's even says many agree greatest film of all time. I agree.
So. I think it's. But you said like I directed, acted, produced, all that. That 99.9% of the time, that is a bad sign. That is 99. And I again, I've never seen it. I know it's a good movie because that's one of the classics. But anytime you see that, I would say stay away unless Citizen Kane is probably the only exception. I can't think of another movie where someone was that involved in the movie, did everything, and the movie turned out to be that good. Yeah, because bad sign.
It's bad to. I feel like great directors don't micromanage. They kind of they tell their people what they want, and then they go and they do it. And if they're not doing it right, you go and you talk to them, and then you direct them in the right direction, and you do it respectfully. Whereas if you're a director and you go and you try to do everything, and you're trying to be everywhere at once, it doesn't work.
Actors need directors. Directors need actors.
Yeah.
So I think when directors try to bite off more than they can chew, and then try to act at the same time. I mean, I don't know who do you talk to for a second opinion. You need that. Actors and directors are best friends, as we've said before. So
yeah,
that's any other time you see that, man. I don't know, but I still have to see it. That's 3 movies I got to borrow now.
Yeah,
that's 3 movies I got to borrow now. Okay, well, I'm gonna talk about my number 1. This was your number 8, but Apocalypse Now.
Apocalypse Now?
I think it's the greatest movie of all time.
I respect that number 1. I respect that.
I think it's the greatest movie of all time. I think because the movies came out, I don't know, it's 70s, but it's not that... It wasn't... I think, actually, by the time that movie came out, I don't think America was out of Vietnam yet. I think America was still in Vietnam. They were losing it, and they were falling back, but I think they were still in Vietnam when that movie came out. 1979.
Oh,
okay, never mind then. Okay, no, 79. So that means so I think they officially left in 74 or 75. So they've only been gone for 5 years. So that stuff's still fresh, man.
Oh yeah,
and I think it's you mentioned it was the greatest war movie of all time, which I can agree with. But it's this psychological thriller. It's also based on a book. I never read the book. It was based on the book Heart of Darkness.
Yep,
but I can't remember what the author's name is. Mm-hmm. And that's more the psychological thing going on there, but it works so much better in the Vietnam War. What a crazy story!
Yeah,
and to me, it represents everything that was happening in that time period. The 1960s were, as I'm sure as you know, and a lot of people know, a very crazy time, especially for all over the world, but especially America. The civil rights movement, the women's rights standing up, the Vietnam War, which was just terrible. 58,000 Americans dead because of a war that really didn't need to happen.
Yeah, because well, let's not get into politics.
I'm not getting into politics. No, but it isn't.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. It's the whole war was pretty pointless. I mean, it didn't. All it did was just raise tensions. Essentially,
nothing was achieved. Nothing was gained. Nothing was lost. The Russians, the Vietnamese kicked them out too. And I was watching a documentary from Kent Burns about Vietnam. That's a different story, but they're explaining a lot about what was going on about the time and the politics of it. But Apocalypse Now, I think the characters, the story. My favorite character is I think it's the major with the big hat. He's the dude that plays Ride of the Valkyries in the helicopter because he thinks it's psychological warfare.
Yeah.
And just how disconnected he is from the war. Whereas, so Captain Willard, obviously from Special Forces, he's sent on a mission. He's got to go up the river. He's doing this thing. The major, everyone else is fighting and dying in this war. Everyone else is trying to stay alive, and this guy's out there and he wants to go surfing in the middle of a war zone. Just so disconnected from what actually, and I think he represents the American public. I think he represents the American public that wanted the soldiers in Vietnam. Like, yeah, we got to get the communists. They're bad. He represents everything what those Americans wanted, and he's just so not there. He's in Vietnam, but he's honestly somewhere else. He walks through the villages, burns them. He's not asking. He just calls in attacks on villages that really could. It's just so crazy, and it's such a crazy time period. And I think, of course, at the very end, when you do meet, I can't remember what Marlon Brando's character's name is.
Colonel Kurtz.
Colonel Kurtz. You finally meet him, and he's nuts. I mean, he's nuts. But he goes, "Do you think I'm nuts?" And he goes, "Well, I don't know." He is nuts, but what he's saying does have an ounce of truth. And my favorite line from the whole movie, I guess scene 2, is when he's talking about, he's like, we went into a village, we inoculated some children, we gave them vaccines, came back 2 days later, and all their arms were missing. And then he said all the arms were in a pile, and he's like, that's when it hit me. So he says he had a moment of enlightenment, but really it was a moment of him losing his shit. He said it hit me like a diamond bullet. I thought, if I could have just 2-3 platoons of men that are willing to do that, this war would be over in a week.
Yeah.
And that's like, oh, dude. Oh, but he's got a point, right? And I just think it's
very dark.
Very dark. Yeah, very dark, but true. It's
a
very true depiction of what the world, especially in East Asia, would have been like back then. And now, I mean, I'm glad that war's over. I'm glad everything's all right there. I hear it's a nice place to visit, but what a great time! What a great lens to look into in a history and time that was not great for many people.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's time to wrap this up now.
I believe so.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what you see here, please give it a like. Give me a subscribe. This is a brand new channel. We're going to be doing a lot of Director's Vision podcasts over here. We're also going to be doing other things over on Big CHED's channel. Go check him out. We just released a new video called Summer Safety. That was such a fun thing
That was
to
a lot
edit.
of fun.
A lot of fun to edit. So we're probably going to make more of those. But let us know what you guys think. And again, thank you guys so much. I'll see you next week.